Hey guys, today we're going to be doing some more cute top knot hairstyles, and if you missed our first video in this series, I will have that linked below. So the first hairstyle, I've started just by making a rectangular part, and then I did add some clips on each side of that just to keep that hair out of that section. For the next step, I'm just going to part this section in half vertically, and then I'm going to make another part in half horizontally. So we're going to end up with 4 little sections, and I'm just going to put those each in little ponytails for now. I went ahead and added a little ponytail into each of those sections, and then we're going to start right here in the front on the right side. I'm going to make a braid here, and you can do a French braid or a Dutch braid, it really doesn't matter. And I'm going to kind of angle it back at a diagonal, coming over to this section here. So as you can see, I started the braid up in this corner and I ended it back in this corner. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this little ponytail out, and we're just going to continue on with that braid, grabbing from this section here. So I'm starting this braid in this corner and I'm going to end back here in this corner, if that makes any sense. Now that I've added in all of the hair from that section, I'm just going to go ahead and braid this down normally a couple of times, and then we'll tie it off. Now I'm going to do the same thing with these 2 leftover sections. I'm going to start here at this corner and braid back to this corner here. So we're just going to go right across the braid that's already there. Okay, to make this bun, I'm going to take these ponytail holders out and combine these 2 braids into one. As I'm braiding this down, I'm just going to go back and stretch these edges out. Now that I have that braid all stretched out, I'm going to take it and wrap it up into a loose bun. Then I'm going to tuck those ends underneath there and pin it into place with bobby pins.
Here's the finished hairstyle.
Alright, for this next one we're going to be doing some ponytail flips, and I am going to be using our Topsy tail for this. If you don't have one, I'll have a link below of where we found ours online. Or you can just use your fingers to flip the ponytails if you don't want to buy one. I'm going to be parting out 3 horizontal sections straight across this rectangle. I'm going to add a small elastic at each one of these sections. And before I flip her hair under, I am going to pull this out just a little bit to make it loose, because you don't want to hurt her head. I'm going to stick the Topsy tail just right above that ponytail, and then flip that under. Depending on how you want this to look, you can tighten it down, or you can actually loosen it up, and that's what we're going to do. I'm wanting this more of a messy look, so I'm just gently loosening the 2 sides of that. For the next 2 ponytails, I'm going to do the exact same thing, but I'm going to be adding the ponytail in front of it to the section that I'm going to flip. Now that I have the top of that done, I'm just going to go ahead and make the bun, and I'm going to do it the exact same way I did the first time. So I'm going to braid it down, stretch it out, and then wrap it up and pin it.
Here's the second hairstyle. I like it because it's easy.
Okay, for this last hairstyle, as you can see, I'm working with wet hair. You can use wet hair or dry hair. I've started just by taking a small section here in the front. You're going to need a decent amount of hair that you can make a braid with, so don't make the section too small. I'm going to split this section into 3 and start a regular braid. And if you don't want this just flat against her head, at this point you would want to come back and kind of pull this out to make it a little bit puffier. And then now that I've braided that down a few times, I'm going to start removing strands from each side of this braid. So I'm just taking out a small piece before I cross that over, and I'm going to do that on both sides. you get back far enough on her head where you want to place the bun, you'll want to stop removing those strands, and then I'm just going to braid this down a few more times so that it doesn't come unraveled. Now I'm going to come back up here to the front and we're going to section out another piece of hair to make another braid. As you can see, I just grabbed this right behind this front section and I went over to the center. I'm just going to ponytail this one off for now, and then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I went ahead and added a ponytail holder to this side as well, and then I'm going to take this braid and all of the little strands that I pulled out, and I'm just going to put it out of the way for now, and I'm going to bring the rest of this section of hair back to the crown of her head where we're going to place the bun. So here's what the partings look like at this point. You're really not going to see any of this when we pull the braid back over. But I'm just going to take this and separate each of those strands so that they're on the right side again. So now I'm going to take each of these ponytail holders out, and we're just going to make a braid with this piece and add these in as I'm going, and then we're going to connect everything here in the back. So again, I'm just splitting this into 3 and I'm starting a regular braid. Now that I've braided it down to where I'm pretty much level with this first strand, I'm going to go ahead and add it in. And I'm just going to keep going until I've added them all in. You just want to make sure that you're not pulling too hard on the braid because you want that to stay in the center. And then of course we're just going to do the exact same thing over here. Now that I have that all braided, I'm just going to combine all of these braids into one and add one more elastic. Here's how the top of that ends up looking, and this is actually going to be a lot prettier when it dries. It's going to be more defined. And then again, I'm just going to braid this down and wrap it up into a bun the same way I did the first 2 styles.
Here's the finished hairstyle. Thanks for watching. See you next week.